Let's talk about war. For the last century, we pretty much knew what it looked like. But that's all changing. The whole concept of a battlefield is shifting from a physical place with tanks and ships to, well, something else entirely. A new dimension that's invisible, it's everywhere, and it's completely rewriting the rulebook. Which brings us to a really important question.
What does a battlefield in the 21st century actually look like? Seriously, what picture comes to mind? Is it a trench? A city in rubble on the nightly news? The thing is, the reality is so much closer, so much more pervasive. In fact, it's not somewhere over there.
It's already all around you. The new battlefield isn't a place on a map. It's the networks. It's the web of fiber optic cables, servers, and satellites that power our entire world. Our banks, our power grids, our communication. That global network, that's the new front line.
What we're talking about, of course, is cyber warfare. And I want to be clear, this isn't just some new gadget added to the old ways of fighting. It's a whole new arena of conflict, a totally distinct domain with its own strategies, its own weapons, and its own very unique dangers.
Now, as new as this all feels, the core idea of fighting with information has been around for a while. Back in the Cold War, it was all about signals intelligence, eavesdropping on enemy communications. But then the internet happened, and it was a total game changer. Espionage went digital, malware went from being a prank to a full-blown weapon. And today, we're dealing with these incredibly sophisticated, state-sponsored campaigns we call Advanced Persistent Threats, or APTs.
So, what's in the arsenal for this new kind of war? If you're not firing bullets or launching missiles, what exactly are you using? Let's pop the hood and take a look at the tools of the trade.
A really sophisticated cyber attack isn't just a brute force smash and grab. It's methodical. It's like a heist movie. First, you've got reconnaissance. The attackers are digitally casing the joint, looking for weaknesses. Then comes exploitation, where they actually use a vulnerability to break in. But here's the really crucial part: persistence. They create a hidden backdoor so they can get in and out whenever they want, totally undetected. Only after all that's done do they move on to their goal, whether that's stealing secrets, causing chaos, or just breaking things. The weapons themselves are pretty varied. You've got your viruses that have to piggyback on legitimate files to spread. You've got worms, which are scarier because they can spread all by themselves across a network. Trojans, just like the old story, trick you into letting them in. And of course, ransomware, which basically kidnaps your data. But the crown jewel, the most valuable weapon, is the zero-day exploit. That's an attack that targets a security flaw that is so new, no one even knows it exists yet, which means there's no defense.
One of the most common tactics you'll hear about is a DDoS attack. The easiest way to think about it is this. Imagine 1,000 bots are all calling your favorite pizza place at the exact same time. You, a legitimate customer, can't get through, right? The line's always busy. A DDoS attack does that to a website or a network. It floods it with so much junk traffic that it just gets overwhelmed and collapses.
And this is where we get to the heart of the problem. All of these new weapons, these new tactics, they don't just bend the old rules of war, they completely shatter them. The core ideas that have guided military strategy for hundreds of years are suddenly, well, they're failing. This table really just nails the difference. In a conventional war, you know who's shooting at you. They've got uniforms, they've got flags, we call that attribution. In cyber war, attribution is a nightmare. Attackers hide behind layers of proxies and false identities, and if you don't know who hit you, the whole idea of deterrence goes out the window. How can you threaten to hit back if you don't know who to aim at? And the damage? A bombed building is obvious. A compromised network? That could stay hidden for years.
This attribution problem gives attackers the ultimate weapon, plausible deniability. A country can launch a completely devastating attack and then just hold up its hands and say, "Wasn't us." This uncertainty can completely paralyze a victim, leaving them with no clear way to respond, militarily or diplomatically.
And believe me, this isn't just a theory. As the source material points out, the way the internet is built, this decentralized, distributed network, is perfect for hiding. Attackers are absolute experts at bouncing their attacks through servers in multiple different countries, creating a digital hall of mirrors that makes tracing it back to the source almost impossible.
So all this ambiguity, this inability to pin down who's doing what, it leads to another massive change. And that's the very idea of where a battlefield is. It's no longer a neat, tidy space you can draw on a map.
I mean, think about it. An attack can be launched from a server in one country, routed through 5 others, and strike a target halfway around the world, all in a fraction of a second. Geography is basically meaningless now. The entire global network is the potential conflict zone.
This blurring of lines gets even crazier when you look at who's actually being targeted. Yeah, sure, military systems are a big one, but look at this chart. The largest part of the pie is critical civilian infrastructure. We're talking about power grids, banks, transportation, private companies. These are now the front lines of global conflict.
And you know what else? It's not just nations fighting anymore. The barrier to entry for cyber warfare is dangerously low. You've got state-sponsored groups acting as deniable proxies, but you've also got terrorist organizations, criminal syndicates in it for the money, and even ideologically driven hacktivist groups. The ability to cause massive disruption has been democratized.
So, when you put it all together, the anonymous attackers, the borderless battlefield, the civilian targets, the new combatants, you get a massive legal and ethical vacuum. We are literally trying to apply rules from the age of sail to a conflict in the age of the internet. And spoiler alert, it is not working.
This really is the fundamental question that everyone, from generals to politicians, is wrestling with right now. The laws of war were written for physical fights with clear combatants. How in the world are they supposed to apply to a conflict that can happen in the blink of an eye?
Just think about the basic principles. Distinction says you have to separate civilians from combatants. Okay, how do you do that when the military and civilian hospitals use the same fiber optic cable? Proportionality says your attack can't cause excessive damage compared to the military goal. How do you even begin to measure the cascading economic damage of taking a country's stock market offline? It is a legal minefield.
This leads us to a really dangerous myth, the idea that cyber war is somehow clean or bloodless. Let me be perfectly clear. An attack that shuts down a nation's power grid in the dead of winter, or an attack that disables emergency services at a hospital, that can have consequences every bit as devastating as a bomb. The weapon might be code, but the damage is all too real.
So we end with this challenge, and it's a big one. The future of global security might literally depend on our ability to answer this question. Can we actually build laws for a war with no borders and no uniforms? As our lives become more and more digital, finding an answer to that is one of the most urgent tasks of our time.